Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogue Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas, where we talk about comics, games, and other stuff on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick.
This is Dave.
And this time we are starting out with Shakespeare, as always, our Shakespeare segment.
Yeah, we have a Shakespeare segment, hosted by our friend Dave.
Hey, no reason not the geeks can't be cultured, all right? And I said ain't.
Dave, but let's talk about Shakespeare.
Okay, so Joss Whedon has made one movie that wasn't Avengers in the last year or two, and that movie was Much Ado About Nothing, the Shakespearean comedy.
Yes.
That he made on a small budget with just some of his acting friends.
It was filmed in a weekend where he told his friends, "Let's have a party." Oh, and wait a minute, we're gonna shoot a movie that weekend.
Did he actually do that?
Yes.
Wow. So here's the thing. I don't know if people know this. Joss Whedon, big Shakespeare fan.
Yeah, he is.
Apparently, one of these sort of acting exercises he used to do back in his Buffy days is he would invite the actors over to his house. I bet they'd drink some wine. If I had to guess, some wine was drunk, and then they would read Shakespeare. I can vouch for this being cool because I've actually participated in a number of local Shakespeare reading groups, and I'm going to kick one off myself sometime soonish, where you just kind of sit around and you read casually and you talk about stuff, and but don't worry about all the acting stuff. So it's a kind of fun, really cool little exercise if you can get into it. And you will realize Shakespeare is not quite as hoity-toity as you thought.
Oh, it's hoity-toity.
It's hoity-toity, but once you get to all the dick jokes... Okay, so here's the thing, speaking of that. I'm going to tell people what the secret of the title is.
Oh.
Shakespeare loves his puns.
He does.
And almost everything in Shakespeare seems to have some double meaning. Much Ado About Nothing is the title, and we're like, oh, so it's all just a merry, fanciful affair that didn't mean anything. But nothing in his era, Elizabethan times? Elizabethan times... Right. Was slang for female private parts. You can insert your term of choice into this. It literally was like, guys had a thing, women had no thing. So nothing is what that means, and because this is a romantic comedy about chasing women around and stuff, Much Ado About fill in the blank. That is dirty Shakespeare for you.
Yes.
Anyway, we saw this in the theater.
We did see it in the theater, and it just came out on Blu-ray this week.
Right, and hence the reason we're talking about it.
Whatever. It was hard to find, but
it
my
wasn't
own political gripe.
It did not quite sell as well as Avengers.
Yeah, maybe not.
In fact, it only really showed in art house theaters.
It's true.
It's kind of too bad.
But the Chitauri are in this, right?
Yes,
that's
Chitauri
right.
show up in the second.
Right.
I haven't seen it because I'm Shakespeare agnostic, so...
Well,
by the way, there is already at least one great film version, which is Kenneth Branagh's.
I was going to say that was about what I was
from the early '90s, and you really liked it. Did you see it back in the day, Nick?
Yes, I did. It was one of my favorite versions of Shakespeare.
I was one of those kids who I hated Shakespeare in high school. I mean, I liked Romeo and Juliet, all right, but we had to read Julius Caesar, and it was boring as dirt.
I read a lot of Shakespeare as a kid.
Did you?
I got one of the giant Shakespeare tomes,
the big
growing
folios,
up. Yeah, and I read that. Probably didn't understand half of it.
Yeah,
but I still was enamored with sort of the writing style. Mm-hmm. I mean, because it's beautiful.
Yeah, and again, dick jokes,
constant.
But anyway, and I love the Branagh version too. So that's what got me on board. It is sometimes when you're a kid reading in high school and you're reading these lines and you don't really know how to say them right the first time. You know what? Even professional actors have to read through them and get them down and realize what the intent of a scene is. So you read it in a more naturalistic tone. And so when I saw Branagh's version back in the day, I realized what Shakespeare could be. It was one of the big ones that turned me around and made me think, okay, I'm going to give this a little bit more of a look. And then now along comes Whedon's version.
Yeah, and it is definitely a Whedon version because every cast member in this is from a Whedon production, be it Avengers, Buffy, Angel, Firefly.
Yep. I don't think we need to go too much into the plot, but it's really about a young couple getting together and a sparring, 30-something couple getting together. That are some of Shakespeare's best characters, I think. They're super modern because they're super snarky and quippy. Obviously, you can see the Whedon connection.
Played by Amy Acker and Alexis Denisof.
Denisof was
From Buffy.
On Buffy, he was what was his... An Angel.
Wesley Wyndham-Pryce.
Wesley Wyndham-Pryce.
And Amy Acker was Fred.
Fred from Angel. And they really do chew the scenery here. I mean, they are probably the best.
Yeah.
He
is kind of a sly, I'm going to be a bachelor forever kind of guy, and...
He plays the goofy stuff so well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he really kind of just goes to town with it. And she does, too. She's great.
Right, and her character, who she's playing Beatrice, is like this super witty, sarcastic chick who, likewise, they like to spar, and it's clear to kind of everybody else that there's something between them, but they will not give in to the fact that they're attracted to each other. I mean, that's the play, and what happens is there's the usual sort of interesting Shakespeare contrivances. Their friends basically decide, let's get them together. Yeah. And they trick them, they disguise each other, there's some more serious turns near the end. But it is a actual very funny comedy.
Yeah. And I can't wait to watch the Blu-ray because it's got 2 commentaries on it. One by Whedon just himself, and then another with the entire cast. And I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Did we say that Agent Coulson is in it?
Yes, Agent Coulson is in it.
Yep, he's another Whedon regular.
And of course Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion plays is it Dogberry?
Yes, Dogberry.
I think Dogberry, who is the ridiculous English mangling sheriff of sorts, or like I can't remember if he's like actually a sheriff or something.
Here he plays like a head security for.
Yeah, think of him as like a bumbling private investigator. Yeah. Really fun character. Michael Keaton played him in the '93 Branagh version, and it's kind of the funniest, goofiest role in the play. And if you've seen him as Captain Hammer, and
it's not much different.
Yeah, he's got that same sort of denseness to him. Very fun character. Anyway, I actually still like Branagh's version better. Nick, where do you stand?
Yeah, I do too. I think Branagh and what's her name?
Emma Thompson was so amazing as his character.
But this is very close for me. Right. I really like this version, just because of its low-keyness.
It is kind of interestingly low-key. It's not like a big, huge period drama. It's modern times, people in suits and stuff at like what looks like a drinking party at Joss Whedon's house.
Yep.
I mean, it's actually filmed very professionally. It does
black
not.
And white,
it doesn't.
too.
Oh, is it?
Is it black and white?
Maybe.
I want to say it was.
It's monochromatic on the back of the box, but I don't know if that's...
I can't remember.
Anyway, I actually thought it might look a little cheap, potentially, when I went into it, but it doesn't look cheap. It does not look like
Joss Whedon, Dave is calling you cheap.
It does not look like a big budget movie. There is not a giant action set piece. But it doesn't...
You're forgetting the Chitauri, Dave.
The Chitauri. But no, it looks very slick. So,
it does.
I would say it is if you have never read or seen any Shakespeare, rent it or something like that, give it a try, go in with an open mind, turn on the subtitles if you want to catch the language. Even I do that sometimes nowadays with Shakespearean stuff, because there's enough archaic words in there that sometimes it helps you to just get a visual lock on them. But it is one of his most approachable plays, and the one that I most recommend trying out.
I agree.
And Whedon's got a good version of it. I wish it had done a little better.
So I'm still here, even though I haven't spoken for the last 10 minutes or so.
I barely noticed your...
It's like 8 minutes, Randy. Don't sell it.
And now we're going to talk about something that we all like.
Oh, that's the longest time Randy's ever shut up. Steak burn.
It's also the longest time I've ever sat and listened to people talk about Shakespeare since high school.
That was very noble of you, Randy.
But I want to talk about something we all have enjoyed for a long, long time, and that is Suicide Squad. Now, there is a current Suicide Squad book from DC in the New 52, which we all liked well enough.
Yeah.
Yes. I haven't read it in a while.
No, me neither.
But I imagine... Is this still the same writer?
Nope.
No, new writer just came on.
Okay. But when I would periodically look in, it looked like it was doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's still the same.
It's always solid. I enjoyed it. However, the one we love was the late 80s, early 90s Suicide Squad. Ran about 60-some issues.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Written by John Ostrander, who's a favorite writer of all of us.
Yep.
Who wished Dave a happy birthday a few weeks ago.
Yes, he did.
Awesome.
John Ostrander is an amazingly awesome person. It's one of those crazy things on Facebook.
Yep.
Like, I don't know John Ostrander. I probably posted on his Facebook page a few times. But he was nice enough to see that one of his fans had a birthday and to wish me happy birthday.
Yep.
And for that and about a zillion other things, I think he's a swell guy.
Yeah. But, so this was an Ostrander Pen series. It came out of the Legends crossover, which was the Fourth World sort of interacting with the DC Universe.
It was just as we have X-Men versus Avengers and stuff nowadays. It was the big crossover of like 1987.
Yep. So Suicide Squad, for those who don't know, is basically the Dirty Dozen of supervillains. It's the government gives supervillains a pardon or shaves time off their sentence in exchange for them going on suicide missions.
Right. There's usually like one or two members who kind of are there who are actually good, straight up good guys who are there to keep them in line.
Yeah.
Yep.
The main cast, they varied a little bit, but the main cast was Bronze Tiger, an ex-martial artist who was he was the good guy.
Right, but he trained with like the League of Assassins.
He had been brainwashed to be an assassin, and
so in a way he was like an old Batman villain.
Yeah.
But like a reformed Batman villain.
Captain Boomerang, who we all love.
Captain Boomerang, who is a kind of what one might immediately think of as a cheesy Flash villain.
Yeah.
But this series changed how I thought about him.
Gave him such a great personality. I mean,
well, what was great is that he didn't really have depth per se. I mean,
no.
he did, but he was a guy you love to hate.
Yeah,
he was sleazy and
self-serving,
entertainingly cowardly.
Yeah,
but then sometimes he'd be interestingly effective.
Yeah,
and he sort of functioned well within the team.
Yeah.
But he was a jackass.
Another guy who's been in every incarnation of the squad is Deadshot, a suicidal hitman.
Yep. My favorite character.
And in many ways, the whole series functioned as a character arc for him.
Yeah.
As you saw him deal with his suicidal tendencies throughout it, literally mapping out the title of the book.
There was Rick Flag, who was a government operative.
He was the link to the old Suicide Squad from like the Silver Age.
Yeah.
He was like strong military family in a lot of ways, a straight arrow kind of guy, but he had some dark stuff he was working through. But he was a straight arrow. Yeah.
Those were the core.
Those are the main guys. I mean, they have other characters.
Well,
they have
there's one main gal that we got to mention that people will know from Justice League Unlimited and many appearances in DC, even the Green Lantern movie, and that's Amanda Waller.
Yeah,
yeah.
AKA the Wall.
Yeah, no, she was the main. She was the organizer of it. She was the hard ass who ran the whole thing, and she was amazing.
One of probably I would say John Ostrander's best character at DC.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, she's a great character,
and a rightfully enduring character as a. Really, she runs Black Ops type stuff.
Yeah,
and she's a hard ass and sometimes cruel, but she definitely. There's I don't quite want to say a softer side.
No,
to
but
her.
she has principles.
She has principles, but she's complex.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's not one dimensional. She's very.
I mean, you look at characters like was it Colonel Jessup in A Few Good Men and stuff like that, and I don't quite liken her precisely to him.
No.
For one thing, I imagine her politics are kind of different than his. But she is somebody who will smash through you to get something done, and she will bend the law or break the law.
Well, and one of the great things about Suicide Squad, in addition to the sort of the missions and supervillain stuff, was that he had a great sort of support, the ground crew, as they were called.
Right.
You had a chaplain who lived on the base and who was sort of the religious advisor. You had a psychologist who sort of got involved with Deadshot, much to her detriment.
Right.
You had
their helicopter pilot,
Briscoe, who was in love with the helicopter.
They had a badass stealth helicopter that was just their method of transportation.
Didn't he speaking broken English or something?
No, he was just sort of a rough and tumble guy.
You know what I think you're thinking of, Nick? He sort of talked to the helicopter in code phrases that sort of mimicked the vocal commands in Dark Knight Returns that Frank Miller had when Batman would call the Batmobile, and he'd do the missile lock. All targets, fire, whatever. You speak in this clipped thing that the computer knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. But this thing goes from everywhere from there's later on they go to Apocalypse, but they also do a lot of, stuff with the government and the NSC.
Right.
And
it's like espionage with superheroes and stuff mixed in there.
Yep.
I mean, one of my favorite storylines is one where they have to go and rescue this Soviet dissident. This was when the Cold War was still in effect in the late 80s.
Yep.
And they go into Russia for what they know is going to be a super dangerous mission. And they brought in, here's a good example of them, how they would bring in guest stars that would be really cool. Penguin, who at that point had not been really... He was I feel like he was not a super cool villain.
He was still a goofy villain at that, but he was the guy with the trick umbrellas.
Him as the club owner that was kind of a clever idea.
No, he was just the guy. He was just the guy with the trick umbrellas at that point.
Right, but he was also like a thief and robber, and so they brought him in to handle their escape route. They're like, when Russia gets locked down, that shit gets locked down, and we need you, the Penguin, to get us out of that.
Yep. He's the master planner.
Right, and so, you see him in prison fatigues, like with a 5 o'clock shadow, going over their maps and stuff, and I was like, I have never seen the Penguin this cool.
Yeah.
And never will again.
Nope. Yeah. It's a great book. There's it's unfortunately most of it's not available in trade. The first 8 issues are available in one trade paperback.
But the issues can probably be found relatively inexpensively in quarter bins and eBays and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in fact, I know Comixology covers them.
Do they?
They don't have everything yet, but they are slowly adding them in. You can always go to the Rogues Gallery website and go buy them through our store at Comixology.
Sounds like a damn swell idea.
But they are highly recommended. We all really like that stuff.
It is a badass book. What else we got?
Well, we're going to talk about fall TV. So, Dave, you can play the role of me this time.
Right,
you don't watch fall
I'll just
TV.
Shut the f up. I don't watch a ton of TV, as people may or may not know from listening to the podcast. I tend to catch stuff on Netflix, and stuff like that.
And I like to be in the know.
Me too.
I like to know what's going on.
I just listen to Nick and Randy talk about it, and every once in a while try something out.
Yeah, well, I actually do a weekly TV podcast.
I was going to say, he's more on top of television than I am.
But
what would be the name of that weekly TV
that is
podcast?
The TV Dudes, found at loungegeeks.com.
That sounds like a great thing to check out.
But we've... There's actually been a pretty good set of stuff from the fall season this year.
Yeah, so far it's actually been pretty good.
I mean, not a flood of stuff, but there's some good shows.
No, but like 4 or 5 shows that actually have a lot of potential. And
we both like the Blacklist.
Yeah, the Blacklist is kind of... It's fun. I mean, it's not like the greatest show.
The Blacklist premise is basically, it's not unlike the Silence of the Lambs. Basically, this master criminal, ex-government op named Raymond Red Reddington, played by James Spader, which is really 90% of the reason to watch the show.
Nick showed me the trailer for this the other day, or like an extended preview, and he did look extremely watchable in it.
Oh yeah, he is. He's a big part of what works.
James Spader with that cold, icy kind of Lecter type.
He's surrendered. He's this guy who's been they call him the concierge of crime. He's been arranging crime and terrorism and all.
So
this
that's
stuff.
kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the whole thing is it's a very over the top. Not as over the top as Sleepy Hollow, which we'll get to, but it's. Basically, he surrenders himself to the FBI and will only work with this one young girl. It's her first case as a profiler. The obvious people are like, okay, she's his daughter. Yeah. We've all been guessing that, but I don't think they are because everybody's guessing it and they haven't revealed it yet.
And it's weird because I actually think the writing is actually a bit better than that.
It is.
I've only seen the first 2 episodes, and I actually thought the second episode, while sort of predictable in a way, the writing, the villains and all those stuff are really well done. Like. Yeah, I actually think
it sounds like the premise is very contrived, but the execution is pretty watched. Is very
well.
watchable.
The Blacklist is his list of, and he names it because he thinks it sounds cool.
Yeah,
it's the Blacklist of 100 villains that he's worked with, and they're going
that we don't even know
that
about.
People that the FBI doesn't know about, and that he's going to help the special task force take them down.
And it's got a lot of cool character actors who are in the background. Like, I always forget his name, but he was in Dollhouse.
Oh, right, the guy who played the handler in Dollhouse?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
I always forget his name.
No, it's...
I always forget his name.
I forget his name, too.
But he's good.
But he's good.
I actually think that the female lead is quite good.
The female lead's really good. She reminds me a lot of what I liked about Sydney Bristow in Alias.
Yeah.
Is it sexist of me if I ask if she's cute?
She's very cute.
It's TV, so I had a feeling she was, but anyway, just checking.
And then the Mike from Homeland is one of the other FBI guys. So it's fun. It's not great TV. If it went away tomorrow, I'd be terribly upset or anything.
But I think if you're a James Spader fan, you have to be watching this.
Yeah, it's really fun. The other drama that I've sort of into is Sleepy Hollow, which I've only seen the first episode of.
I've seen the first 3, actually.
Sleepy Hollow is goofy. If you like National Treasure, but you were like, hey, could this be a little less realistic? Sleepy Hollow is for you.
Yes. That is probably one of the best definitions I've heard of it.
Because Sleepy Hollow would be, it's based...
Can I ask if it has supernatural stuff in it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, but National Treasure was rooted quasi in reality.
Yes,
there was nothing magical.
Dave, I will give you this sentence. George Washington was a warlock.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so here's Sleepy Hollow is loosely based on Ichabod, the story of Ichabod Crane. Now, when I say loosely based, you think, okay, loosely based. No, looser than that. No. Looser. Okay. Ichabod Crane was not a cowardly schoolteacher. He was a badass Revolutionary War spy / soldier working for George Washington, who is secretly... The revolution was not just about British power. It was also about warlocks warring with one another. The Headless Horseman is actually Death, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And he was defeated by Ichabod Crane on the battlefield. And Ichabod Crane was put to sleep because that was the only way to put the horseman to sleep. So somebody wakes up Ichabod Crane, possibly his witch ex-lover.
Like put to sleep with magic?
With magic.
Not like put to sleep with a vet.
Not like
and
a vet.
he wakes up and...
He wakes up and the headless horseman wakes up. And then it turns out that...
you know what this is? This is old-timey Demolition Man.
It is actually.
You have to resurrect Ichabod Crane
Yep.
to take down Simon Phoenix.
Yeah.
Simon Phoenix being the Headless Horseman.
But there's covens of good and evil witches.
I was going to say, it doesn't just focus on the Headless Horseman.
No.
A bigger story begins to sprawl.
So it sounds like there's all sorts of fun reveals about the truth about American history.
There's American history. There's conspiracy, supernatural conspiracy that ties into all kinds of American history conspiracy theory.
In 100 years, this is going to be taught in schools. Isn't
if you are a fan of like history or literature, you might just be tearing your hair out watching it,
or your hair
you might have a few drinks beforehand and enjoy it.
But it's fun. It's goofy. It's written by Roberto Orci and whoever the other guy is. His writing part of the guys. Yeah, the guys who've done a lot of the schlocky movies, like Transformers.
But they were also in charge of Fringe, and
they tend to be a little schlocky, and this is a little schlocky.
A little bit, but it's a lot of fun.
It's got people you recognize.
I have to say, though, even if it is a little schlocky, it sounds like when you hear the premise, you got to know what you're getting into.
You know what you're getting into. Yeah. It delivers what it promises, and it's done real well. It was the first show to be renewed for a second season.
Yeah.
It's already gotten its renewal for second season, so you're not going to get fringed on this. It's going to be around. Well, I guess that wouldn't be getting fringed. That's getting fireflied. Getting fringed is thinking it's going to get canceled the whole time. But it's got Clancy Brown. You might remember the Kurgan, among other things. It's got John Cho, a.k.a. Harold of Harold and Kumar.
Yep.
The leads are both. The lead is Ichabod Crane and a black female police detective.
Yep.
Who they have great chemistry.
They do. Actually, I really like the guy who plays Ichabod. He
would it be sexist if I asked if she's cute?
She's cute.
Yes, Ichabod Crane is cute, Dave.
It's TV. Of course she's going to be cute.
No, but Ichabod
Crane is a hottie as well.
Is he strapping Ichabod Crane?
He's a strapping Ichabod Crane.
Ichabod Crane has emerged as a modern sex symbol. Johnny Depp played him in the movie.
It's crazy.
And now he's...
Now this guy...
Gawky is the new sexy.
But I think the jokes that they play with him, like the Man Out of Time stuff, actually really do.
It sounds like it has several different hooks, like multiple hooks shouldn't work, but kind of does, that kind of
thing. It's in that ballpark. It's one of those things, So drama, maybe not exactly what it is, but it's an hour-long, not comedy, so...
hour-long thriller, crazy over-the-top thriller.
Yeah, if you liked 24 but wished it had more American history and supernatural elements. And less cougars. But there's also some comedies that you and I are both into. There's actually a lot of comedies.
There's a half-hour comedy on Fox.
Yeah. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, with Adam Sandberg playing a lead detective. Andy Samberg, sorry.
It's got a great cast. Andy Samberg.
That's the dude who does all the...
Saturday Night Live digital shorts. Yep. He's got the big curly hair. Terry Crews, who you probably know at least from the Right Guard commercials. Not Right Guard, Old Spice.
He was also...
Are you talking about the guy who did all the humorous Old Spice?
No, that's a different guy. But Terry Crews did some too.
Terry Crews was also on Newsroom.
Terry Crews is also in the Newsroom.
So
he's been doing a bunch of stuff. Joe Latruglio, who's a name you probably wouldn't know, but you'll know the actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff that was a bunch of sitcoms.
One of sort of the big guys in it is Andre Braugher.
Andre Braugher plays these sort of... basically, the deal with Brooklyn Nine-Nine is it's this precinct in New York. Andy Samberg is the out there sort of cop who doesn't take his job all that seriously, but who's really good at it.
Yeah.
And then in comes this straight arrow new captain who's like wants to go over all the regulations and all that kind of stuff. Of course, they butt heads, but they sort of have a mutual respect thing going. The captain has a sort of a big secret about why it's taking him so long for him to get a command, which is really kind of neat. There's two women in the show. Yes, Dave, they're both pretty. They're actually, and they're both great. I like both of those characters. They're new actresses. Hilarious. I don't know them from previous stuff. The quirky, funny civilian receptionist is one of the great characters.
Yeah, I had to say she's got to have been on like Saturday Night Live or something.
It feels like this is written. One of the writers is Mike Schur, who's run Parks and Rec for the longest time, which is one of the funniest shows on TV. These are guys who came from Parks and Rec and The Office. It's a good comedy pedigree.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's cops. I mean, there's a murder in the first episode, and yet they managed to make it funny.
Yeah, somehow they
half-hour show.
Half-hour show. Yep.
No laugh track. I'm guessing.
No laugh track. Single cam comedy. Yeah,
you supply your own laugh track.
But it's really funny. It's really clever, and they managed to take. It's a workplace comedy, but the workplace happens to be a police precinct.
Yeah.
how does it compare to, say, Barney Miller, which I don't know if
it's definitely influenced by Barney Miller.
Really?
You know, I mean, I would say that this is one of those things where, like, they looked at Barney Miller as a template and said, you know, this is one where you can do cops.
Yeah. Now, if I were to ask you about Detective Wojciechowicz on Barney Miller, is it kind of cute? Actually, Barney Miller had the craggiest cast of men ever.
Dave, no one listening to this podcast has any idea what Barney Miller is.
No, it's true.
You never know. There's probably a couple.
There may be.
There's people who know.
And then the other one that we both like is Trophy Wife.
Yeah, Trophy Wife is one of those comedies. Mainly, I like it because of Bradley Whitford.
Bradley
he
Whitford
was sort
plays
of my intro to it.
Bradley Whitford plays sort of the patriarch. He's an older guy who's had 2 ex-wives,
and he's
on his third. His third is the trophy wife in the name, and she's a cute, young, but not ditzy. I mean, she's the main character.
If
really,
you watched Watchmen, she played Silk Spectre.
She played Silk Spectre. It's Malin Ackerman, and she's great at both the dialogue and the physical comedy.
I was going to say, I was very surprised at how good she is at the physical
She's
comedy.
really good.
She's hilarious.
That's interesting that I did not know she was in this show. And from Watchmen, I would have thought. I mean, I was like, she's okay. But
yeah, you wouldn't have guessed it.
I didn't get a great sense of range.
You wouldn't have guessed it, but she's great in this.
Okay, she delivers great.
And Marcia Gay Harden, who you've seen in a bunch of stuff, she plays the sort of uptight ex-wife who sort of lords over her kids, the twins.
She's a surgeon. She's just like this.
And then his second wife is this sort of hippy-dippy lady, and she's kind of funny too. And the two of them had an adopted, I believe, a Chinese son, and he's hilarious. The kids are pretty good.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I honestly, it has a lot to do with like Modern Family. And
it reminds me of Modern Family. Well, it is a different type of Modern Family. It's a blended family of three divorces, 2 sets of kids, young wife, older husband, and then Natalie Morales plays the single friend who used to pal around with Malin Ackerman. And
Natalie Morales is awesome.
She's great, and she shows up in the shows and then disappears. I hope she sticks around here and gets some stuff to do.
Yes.
It's a crowded show. There's a lot going on, but the episodes I've seen have been very funny. They've done a pretty good job juggling the cast and
I don't know who the writers are, but they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I think they're a new team.
I think so
mistaken.
too. Yeah. But Trophy Wife is on ABC on Tuesday nights. Is that right? As we record this,
or maybe it's Monday nights.
I think it is. I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday.
So Tuesday nights.
We don't know. It's Tuesday because Modern Family is Wednesday, and it's not paired with Modern.
Local listing.
It's not paired with Modern Family, which it should be.
Or go on your On Demand or Hulu.
Brooklyn NineNine is on Mondays on Fox, along with Sleepy Hollow.
Yep.
The Blacklist is on NBC on Mondays. There's a ton of other stuff. Those are some of the highlights of the fall season for us. Dave, what was your favorite fall show?
Is Much Ado About Nothing a TV show?
Sure, why not? Well, that about wrap for us, guys. And thanks for listening. And we will close with our traditional Yo-Yo.